Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly, Uncensored.
Hello, and welcome back to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. We do the podcast on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but we were off last week, and we were going to wait until Wednesday to do the podcast, but tomorrow we have a crap ton of stuff that we got to do after the show, because, of course, when you come back from vacation, everyone's like, hey, meeting.
It's an avalanche.
And so we didn't want to wait until Friday when you're like, okay, y'all been back. What?
Well, not only that, a few things may have happened.
Just a few. Girl. So I don't even know, like, do y'all want to talk about what happened during vacation in your personal lives, or all the world changed in the week we were gone?
All of it. We have to cap ourselves, though. We gotta word economy.
Because we still have a meeting.
Tweets. Yeah.
I agree. So let's talk about what happened in the world while we were gone. Then we'll get to our personal stuff.
I don't have much personal stuff. So
Me either. Like, I
really
had a pretty
don't.
good time.
Well, the cruise was amazing. But so we'll sort of weave in and out of it, and I'll sort of show you how it all happened while I was on this damn cruise.
Yeah.
Maybe where we were.
Right. So
where were you?
I'll remember it.
All the things happened. Yes.
So first off, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on the show, that like right before we got on the cruise last Saturday, something major happened where we almost didn't make it on the cruise ship. It was like a complete meltdown.
Oh my God.
Last Saturday.
So you're not going to tell us what it is?
No, because that's going to be the topic on air, but
you can still tell us. I'll still be surprised.
No, you won't. I'll tell the story here. You're like, oh my God. And then tomorrow you'll be like, well, that's crazy.
To be fair, wouldn't it be better that way? Because as we know, every consultant of ours yells at me for being overexcited. So you're going to tell a story and I'm going to be like, what? And they're going to be like, Holly, you were yelling again.
Maybe it's better.
Right.
This is what I'm saying. Like, if you let me yell about it now, then on the air, I'll be like, that is wild. And they'll be like, perfect reaction, Holly. More of that.
I don't like it. I refuse to believe it. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow on the air. But anyway, so we got on the cruise ship Saturday. And we, depending on the cruise line, you can get like specialty dinners. So we picked our first night on the cruise ship to do this like nice steak restaurant. So we're all sitting there. Now, mind you, we've been on the ship since about noon. So, as soon as you get on, they give you champagne. You've been drinking all day. You're getting in the pool and the sun is starting to hit you. So we're all sitting at this nice steak restaurant around 5:30 Saturday night. And because we were still around the Fort Lauderdale area, we had signal. And so as we're sitting there, our phones all start pinging. Everyone in the restaurant start pinging. And then someone at our table goes, oh, Trump was shot. And we're like,
I'm not laughing, but like, listen to the absurdity of that statement.
Right.
Like, it just sounds like, because remember the last time that someone, I think, had an attempted assassination attempt, it was Reagan
81,
before we were born.
Before any of us were born.
Right. And so,
I mean, not you listening, possibly you would, but the three of us,
But I was like, okay, disinformation. What the hell are you? No, don't get crazy. And then we all started looking and it was like serious. And so then like the waiter comes over and they don't know what's happening because they're on a fucking cruise ship. And they're like, will you take your order? We're like, hold on. We got to read into this. And so you can just see everybody in the restaurant on the ship start murmuring and being like, oh, what happened? What does this mean? And, when you get something first like that, there are no really solid details.
No.
And so we were like, what the hell is going on? So where were you, Holly?
I was a little drunk. I'll be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I was at home. We did not know where. I didn't have Maya, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been drunk. So I had probably started having some beverages early because sometimes on like a weekend when I don't have the girls, I'll start my little Saturday or Sunday fun day a little early. Maybe I'll start around 3 or 4 o'clock, having a little relaxing time. And so we had just finished some movie and I was looking forward to just kicking off vacation. And my fiance got a text from somebody, like a friend of his, and he looks at me and he goes, he said that Trump just got shot at? And I was like, no. I was like, no. I was like, well, hold on. So let me get my phone and I look, and there's like only one news outlet reporting this because it apparently had just happened. And I'm like, oh God, we got to turn on the TV. We turn on the TV. We went to CNN, who I feel as though CNN did a stellar job on reporting this. As someone who was at home and able to look at the news on television, CNN really did a great job of providing up to the minute, accurate, non-crazy information, and like, very they kept you abreast of what was going on. So we're watching, and I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And I'm like, well, this ruins the rest of the night.
Right.
I was kind of pissed. Obviously, like, thankfully nothing worse happened, because then that would have been terrible. But I really was like, oh man, now I gotta focus. And then my next thing was, I was looking at social media and I saw some other radio stations that were putting this information out. And I was like, oh God. And like, Miguel is usually my go-to about like, for our brand, what do we do?
Right.
But I knew Miguel had just got on a cruise. I'm like, not bothering him. And I knew Kelvin was on vacation too, like sort of, kind of.
I was working.
But I was like, I'm not trying to bother him, because he's going to be like, I don't really know, because like, honestly, you don't handle station stuff, you handle our stuff. And so I was like, I'm gonna go right to our boss. So I text our boss, keep him on, I'm tipsy. And I go, should we be posting something about this on like our radio station socials? And he was like, what are other radio stations doing? I'm like, they are. And he's like, all right, do it. So then I'm like, hold on.
Here comes Truly Holly, like
Truly Holly barreling into things. I can't just copy and paste. It won't let me. So I'm typing it out word for word. I'm having my phone here, my fiance's phone here. I'm like, let me text message you this information. Everything is spelled wrong. I'm now spell checking the whole thing, and I got it out on socials on Saturday night. That was my contribution.
Here's how your professional media outlets are getting you late breaking news.
Late breaking news. I did it, by the way, and with aplomb, not nary a spelling error, and I even gave Getty Images.
Yeah.
2 points real quick before we find out where Kelvin was. One, breaking news right now. According to NBC News, the Secret Service director has resigned after being hauled in front of Congress yesterday.
Wow.
So, yeah,
I mean,
that was a pretty big,
that
the ultimate, like, that's
the
your
ultimate,
job.
Because up until all the second half of the breaking stuff that happened over this weekend, like, if we're only focusing on the Trump getting shot situation, how many steps had to fucking fail
Right.
for that to happen?
For this-
Unbelievable.
This
Like,
teenager, I'm assuming he was like, what, 20?
20,
Right. I mean,
20-year-old kid.
I did watch a little bit of the hearings yesterday when they hauled, the Secret Service director out, and they were like, y'all, like, their budget is like in the billions, and they were like, y'all have one job, is to protect that person and their family, and you fucked up.
And it wasn't just, it was like, it had to be layers. It wasn't, I don't believe it was just one fuck up. Like, several
No, there were
things
several things
had to miss.
Right.
And then, not to mention the amount of time it took for them to get Donald Trump into an armored vehicle.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
What are you doing? Like, I don't know much about much, but obviously, having looked a lot more into this, and you've got people that are like ex-military or current military, or anyone who's had to be a bodyguard or protector of some other person. Every single TikTok I saw from someone of that caliber is like, this was absolutely the most unprofessional thing that we've ever seen. Because you cannot. There were. How would you know that was the only shooter? You had so many minutes where another shot could have gotten off from anywhere.
Seconds,
you have seconds. Like, they were like 2 minutes it took for that to happen, or something like that. Anyway, so I say all that to say is like,
we kind of saw that coming.
Yeah.
I feel bad, but at the same time, like, what a terrible gaffe.
Kelvin, where were you when this went down?
I was at Copa America game
Oh,
at Bank of
yeah.
America Stadium.
Mm.
Hot as hell. I'm not the biggest fan of talking to crowds on a microphone. So it was a time. But actually, Saturday was much better than the Colombian game. This past Wednesday, or not this past Wednesday, that past Wednesday of that week. But yeah, so that Saturday was busy, man. It was like left, right. People were coming in. We were raffling stuff. My coworker was not our coworker. She's like the director of promo and management and marketing. And so she was helping me out. And she was the one who actually told me the news update. And my first thought was like, is he dead? Not because I don't like the man. I was just like, is he dead? Like there are a lot of repercussions if that were to happen. And that was my first initial thought. And then of course I start reading all the things. I see the whole fist pumping in the air and the whole we're fighting thing, which I thought was lame because lame on the Secret Service part. Because why are you not tackling this man to the floor? I understand he's like this 80-year-old grandfather running for president. And you can't tackle him. You might break something. But was no one protecting him?
No, but that's their directive. Like I saw somebody said like when you are the target and we are protecting you. And I mean, this is just going off of TikTok, so who knows? But he was like, that person no longer has agency of their body. I don't care if they put up a fight. Your job is to make sure they don't die.
Correct.
Right.
So sorry, Grandpa. We're gonna have to maybe like, break your toe and throw you into this vehicle.
Break a little hip. But I don't know what it was, but they were like letting him do this whole fist bumping thing in the air and him looking so I don't know what it was, but it fucking irked me. I don't know why. But then I saw all the posts and everybody championing this man, and I'm like, do we not care that somebody fucking died?
Yeah.
Like you're out here championing somebody who almost got shot while they were like lying on a podium to their support. I don't know. It fucking irked me. But aside from my commentary, yeah, that's where I was. I was at Copa America. My coworker told me she shared her 2 cents on how she felt. And yeah, that's where I was.
I think that, no matter where you believe on things, like political violence has no place in our country, because once you go down that path, you can never bring yourself back.
Right.
And
No,
that's how it
stamped out.
should. Let's be very clear, because you've heard us on this podcast give our opinions on things, but there is absolutely no place for violence of any kind when it comes to America and our politics. We should be able to talk about it, to get it out, to reason, and to go back and forth. It should never result to someone's life ending, whether it comes to that political figure or the Secret Service or innocent bystanders, because no matter what you believe, for these people, even if you're like, oh my God, they're the lowest scum on earth, no one deserves to lose their life over that.
No.
Just let that be very clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awful, awful, awful day. Well, I was like, wow, well, that obviously is going to be sort of the, storyline for what happens over the next week when it comes to news things. And so we were like,
Kelvin has something.
Oh, Kelvin.
Can I just say, within our group chat, we were all discussing it and talking about it, right? I clearly misread. I was delusional. I was tired by that point. I wasn't wearing my girdle, so like it starts to hurt after a while when you're not wearing it for a few hours. And then my coworker wanted to go to the game, and I was like, sure, I'll go for a little bit. And that wasn't, that's not even me complaining. I was just, it was a long day. We were in a group chat, and I think Miguel had said the comment of something like, I don't know what I read, but to me it came off like you had said, man, I hope there's an iHeart station in Canada because of all the chaos that might have happened. We didn't know what was going to happen because of this, right? So in my mind, I don't know why I read it, and I was like, they want to go into the studio on a Sunday? They really, like, I was like, a part of me was like, what the fuck? No, go out, stay on your vacation. And the other part of me was like, man, like, that's really cool. They're so, they really want to be on top of this and be the voice for the community. And like, so I was like battling both. And then I went back home and I read it back to my fiance, Oscar. And he was like, well, how would that make sense? Why would he be in Canada? His cruise is in like the South. And I was like, you're right. I felt so stupid. I felt so stupid.
No, listen, it was a long day. There was a lot of emotions. And I mean, to be honest, like there was discussion at our table. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Dude, what is this about Hoda?
It is. Hold on, real quick.
I knew it. I knew it as soon as I heard that fawn in his voice.
Okay, well, this is a different fawn. The host of 100 Day Dream Homes that we were on, Mika and Brian, they're actually on with Hoda and Jenna right now.
Oh,
and so it's like, oh, I love them because I know them. And I want to text her after the thing and be like, girl, can you tell Hoda I love her, please?
Text her right now.
Yes.
I will.
Yes.
I will.
Take a moment.
I'm gonna take.
I think you should, because she's gonna go back and see
I
her
know,
phone.
because they're probably live right now. And I'll be like, "Girl, I see you and Brian."
Are they live or is it pre-recorded?
I know. I think it's live.
Okay.
Because that's what Hoda had on this
send you a little
morning.
video.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm so excited. It's just, you know what, okay, this is total side tangent. We're supposed to get through this quickly, but knowing Meek and Brian, they're from the Tampa area. They're local people who have like slowly built their brand on HGTV, and they're slowly becoming really big stars. And so knowing them and how nice and personable they are, it's really cool to see people that you know start to like break out and to make it big. And so I just feel like I'm like, look at them.
That's right. No, that's right.
Oh, hold it in general. That's y'all better get it. But anyway, one of the discussions that we had on the ship was like, if, before we got any information, if Trump passes away, what's it going to look like on this floating city with, 3,000 people with different political beliefs that are heavily drunk the entire time? And so there was a little fear on our part about like, if something escalates, what the fuck is going to happen on the ship?
What do they do? I imagine they would like force everyone to go into their rooms.
Probably. Because I think that's what's happened like during storms. Remember there was that ship or that cruise ship that had to stay outside of it. Was it Fort Lauderdale or Miami when COVID happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they were just stuck there and had to like stay in their rooms. And so we were like, what would that happen? So we sort of went down that.
I was scared for y'all. I was like, they're on a cruise. We just got this crazy ass news.
Right.
My God, it's so, like we were going, and then we're drunk, and so we're sitting around the table with a steak, and we're like, "Ooh, the steak is good." So what would happen? Like, what will we do? So that was Saturday night, and then I think it was Sunday. Did Trump pick Vance, or did he?
No, it wasn't until Monday. Okay,
so Monday, because we had 2 days at sea.
Yeah.
So Monday is, and this is what I described early in the show this morning, where being on a cruise ship is almost like being in high school, where the first couple of days it's like your freshman year, and then the next couple of days like your sophomore year, where you're feeling a little more comfortable with people, and then by like the middle of the week it's your junior year, where you like are walking down the hallway and you're like, "Hey Brenda, how you doing?" "Girl, I saw you were drunk last night too." "I know, girl, we'll see you at the pool later." And so everyone's feeling comfortable. Well, Monday, we're at that beginning process. We're at the pool, and we're like making friends with this gay couple and this other straight couple from the Palm Beach area. And we're all just drinking, ordering drinks, having fun, talking to know each other. And then someone looks at their phone and goes, "Oh, Trump just picked JD Vance." And I was like, y'all, keep your mouths and your opinions close to the chest right here, because one, the people that we're hanging out with, we don't know their political beliefs. And also where we were
You're just trying to have a vacation,
right? We're just trying to get to know each other. And then your voice has echoed to the people that are sitting around the pool. And so some guy was like, "Who did Trump pick?" And we were like, "JD Vance." And I looked at my husband, Abe, who's very opinionated and has a very loud voice. And I said, "Shut up. We can talk about it at dinner with our friends who we know."
This is not the time or the place.
Not the place. So then we just shut our mouths and I changed the subject.
Yeah, that's probably best.
So where were y'all when that happened?
So I was home still. I was just home, y'all, the entire time.
At home on my
couch. I was at home on my couch. Well, funny enough, the night before, on Sunday night, a huge storm ripped through our neighborhood, knocked our power out. And it was like, I think the power went out at about maybe 7:45. And I had already lit some candles. I like to make it nice and cozy. And so when the power went out, it's just candles. And I was like, damn it. This is going to impede my House of the Dragon watching. I can finally watch it live, and now I can't watch it. So I was so pissed. So I pulled out my pass out drinking game. Like that. And the power didn't come back on until close to midnight, which I was starting to worry about the refrigerator and all this. So that was excitement at my house. And then on Monday, after all of the hubbub, of course, about Donald Trump being shot, I didn't really have anything to do. Monday, Maya was coming home, but not until later in the evening. And so we weren't really doing much Monday. So my fiance's like, "I'm going to put on the RNC and just see what happens." Because he knew they were going to announce the pick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was watching that, which I've never watched a convention before. It sucks. it's a lot.
I usually
Yeah,
lot.
it's something.
during
It's something.
I usually watch a lot of the Democratic convention just because I'm a super political.
I've never watched any convention.
I only can take a little bit of the Republican one, especially in the Trump era, because there's so many untruths.
I was only, and the part that I came in on was like the big pep rally where everyone what is it? The delegates are like,
the delegates are like roll
announcing.
call. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like roll call.
Yeah.
And I was like,
from the great state of Mississippi.
Yes. That was the part that I was watching. There's so like the miners in West Virginia had their hard hats on, and I was like, what am I come upon here? Because I'm new to this whole thing. So anyway, that was an interesting sneak peek, but that's when we saw, and we both looked at each other, and I was like, do you know anything about this guy? And he's like, no, do you? And I'm like, no. He's like, he's from Ohio. And I'm like, I can't know everyone from Ohio.
Don't y'all have an email club that you introduce each other and you're like, hey, I'm from Ohio.
Right? Right, we do. It's We're from Ohio Facebook group. That's right. No, so I was like, I got nothing. So it really didn't mean anything to me or my fiance or anything. We were just interested to see in case it was somebody that we did name recognize, but neither one of us did. And I know just only even just a few bits about it, even now after the fact.
Google him for you, Holly, and me. Anybody, Google him. You may know him if you ever watched the Netflix movie Hillbilly
Elegy, right?
Elegy.
I did hear that he wrote that, but I didn't see that either. I don't know anything about it. It's
a really, really good movie, especially if you come from poverty and you sort of had to like bring your way up. So that was my first introduction to JD Vance, because he wrote that. It's sort of like a semi autobiography of his life and where he came from.
With like the what are those pills? The epidemic.
Oh,
right?
the opioids.
Opioids epidemic. That's what I think it's about, right?
Yeah, yes, it's about that. And it's really good because Glenn Close is in it. And I want to say, I always mix up Amy McAdams and Rachel McAdams. One of them is in it that plays his mom, I believe. But it's a really, really, really good movie. But just because someone writes a really great message that sort of represents and sort of talks about where poor people come from does not mean that they are a great person after the fact. So basically, JD Vance is a guy who sort of did pull himself up by the bootstraps. Anyway, I won't get into all that, but just Google him to find out more about him. Kelvin, where were you when you found that out? And did you even know who he was?
Don't know her, don't care, and I can't even remember where I was because I do not care.
Right. It was just sort of like, oh,
cool.
JD Vance. Okay. Yeah. Who? Right. Yeah. If you're super conservative, you know who he is, because he's a senator. But
I did see his previous comments about Trump, though. I did see that.
He did say a lot of bad things about Trump, that he did not like him and whatnot. And then he has sort of turned around because, So there was that.
Of course, who wouldn't want to be a vice president of a country?
But sell out your beliefs and morals. But okay, cool, whatever. So there's that. Okay. I want to make this very clear. If you're just joining us, we did say there's no place in our country for political violence. But at the same time,
oh my God, where are you going with this? But
no,
I'm saving it.
Did you see at the convention when people had those bandages on their ears?
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
I did.
Yeah, what?
They're excited, Miguel.
Oh,
they're supporting.
Okay.
Yeah. He's an influencer.
He's the
first
content creation
politician influencer.
I mean, here's the thing I will say about that is I was listening to a podcast and I was really trying to disconnect, but there was like so much happening that I was like, I can't not just act like all of this didn't happen. So I was like, what are the pundits saying about it? And I believe that what someone said is true, is that say what you will about Trump, if you like him, if you don't like him. They said that while most politicians can read the lines and play the politician roles, Trump can hear it. That in that moment, he made a split-second decision of, yes, I don't even know where I'm hurt yet, but you know what's going to look really great in this moment is me busting through the Secret Service and putting my fist up. And they were like, you have to give him credit for understanding when a moment is a moment.
Trump understands the assignment.
He understands that this is going to be
influencer.
something that will be on t-shirts, on coffee mugs, and my followers will be like, yes.
I already saw a t-shirt on my vacation when I did leave my house finally. I did see a t-shirt. I saw a ready whipped up t-shirt.
Right.
Somebody did that.
So obviously there were lots of talk from my perspective on the cruise ship about, the assassination attempt and how everyone, like there was, you could tell no matter where you believe in that this was like a sad turning point. Like this was really unfortunate that we've gotten to this point with the rhetoric.
So much people fucking hate him.
Right. And it's just
would go to that length.
And it's really unfortunate that we've gotten there. So then, we're going through the week and, we'll tell more stories throughout the week about, from our perspective, our vacations, but just getting through the current events of what happened. So then Wednesday or Thursday night, we were at the casino on the boat. And
love a casino.
Oh, I take $200 and I'm like, that's your budget. That's all you get to play with. So usually in between, like in the evening time, like between dinner and a show, I'll go to the casino for like 20-30 minutes and, play my little penny slots and just see what I can do. Well, we had went to the club on the ship that night. And I think it was like middle of the week where none of us were feeling it. And half the people were like, oh, we're going to go to bed. We still got like 5 more days of this. So let's just take a break tonight. So a friend of mine who was with us went to the casino and he was playing a machine and he was like doing really well. And I had like lost like $10. I'm like, all right, let me get up on another machine. So I went to another slot machine and you like swipe your key card and on the little machine, it says, welcome back, Miguel. You have, 130 points. And when I tapped my key card, it said, welcome back, guest. You have 0 points. And I was like, that's weird. But I was like, drunk. I was like, whatever. So I put my little card in there and I tried to like hit the button for the machine to go and it just wouldn't go. And I was like, uh-oh. So I
wasn't recognizing your card?
It wasn't recognizing my card or the money I had just put in. So I hit cash out. Let me get my little slip back so I don't lose any money. And then all of a sudden, the machine starts to like digitize. And then all of a sudden, the casino manager comes out. She's like, if you're on a slot machine, stop it. Please stop playing. The tables are okay, but something is amiss. And we're like, okay, whatever. So we're drunk, not paying attention. Go back to the room, head to bed, wake up the next morning. And then that's when we see all the news about the Microsoft outage. And we were like,
no, I forgot about that in all of this.
Yes.
I forgot about the damn Microsoft outage.
And so we were like, ooh, that's probably what happened last night, is that because it's all connected. And we were like, holy shit. So then that morning, everyone on the cruise ship is like, do they still have navigational tools?
Oh, they have to.
Like,
and if not, someone's gonna get out like one of those things where you can like do it. You look at the sky and you see where the constellations are at. There's one person on a ship, I guarantee it, that knows how to wait. What is it called? Wayfinding.
Yeah, on these big old cruise ships, I'm sure, because everything is so mechanical now. Like, you don't, nobody pushes any, it just does it itself, basically.
Yeah, no, there's one person that he's like an old pirate and they keep him locked up and they trot him out up to the crow's nest if that shit happens and he will find your way home.
They're like, we can put a sail up on this big, massive boat floating through the ocean. So then that was like the like
the global outage
of everybody.
I forgot that happened.
That was a thing. And so then we saw that like all these flights were grounded. And so then people were like freaking out of, well, I live in London, or one of my friends lives in San Diego. And he was like, will I be able to get home?
You didn't know.
Right. And so that was the talk of the ship that day.
Did it a very busy cruise.
Imagine the people who didn't have internet on that ship that were like, you know what, I'm going to disconnect.
Listen,
and just word of mouth.
And so normally I'm not this connected. I normally am not connected until we get to port. But just because I know the past, like last year,
we said that last year though, bitch, and you were posting.
Well, only when we get to port. But this time I was like, just thank God I did. I was like, the world is so crazy. I need to know at least what's happening. So I'm not totally blindsided when we pull into Aruba and then my phone is like ding, 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 ding. So I was like, let me just know what's happening while we're on the ship. Whereas some people don't get the internet package and they don't know. And they just see everybody like, so we were in the elevator that morning and we were like, and I was like, wait, I wonder if the radio stations were affected because our stuff was in the cloud or whatever. And so then like this old lady in the elevator that morning was like, what happened? And I was like, I don't want to scare you, but apparently, and she was like, oh no, I need to find my husband. So that's where
And
we
it
were.
wasn't that big of a deal if you were on a cruise ship.
No.
I mean,
Unless we lost our
what's it gonna do?
navigation.
Unless that, but I think
You'll
it'll be
eventually
okay.
see land.
Like I said, they got, old pirate robards out there.
Yeah.
So did it affect y'all in any way?
No, because I woke up and my best friend Erin had texted me because her boyfriend was grounded. He was trying to get to Atlanta to see his daughter and couldn't. And so she was telling me that thing. And I'm like, wait, what? And she's like, it's a global thing. And I had literally woken up in my hotel bed at that point, and I was like, wait, I wasn't. How? I was like, there's too many things going on right now. How am I supposed to just enjoy the water slide? And she's like, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to just go do the water slide. And I was like, you're right. So I just decided that I wasn't going to give any fucks about the global outage, and I was going to go on the damn water slide. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
Kelvin?
I think this was Friday, so I was in Miami. I was at the beautiful Frost Museum, downtown Miami, and I had such a fun time. They had like an astronaut exhibit. We got to go into like a really fake like rocket ship where they kind of show you how everything works.
I love those type of things.
Like you're in zero gravity, and you got to do so many things. Man, I was having fun.
Yeah. Man.
No, we didn't. I decided I was gonna choose not to care about the global outage because everything on my end was working fine. And I'm like, if Teams not working this week, they'll fix it.
That's fine.
It's fine. Okay. I mean, like if Teams aren't working on a normal week, that is catastrophe. But I was like, I'm on vacation. I don't really care if anything is. I did think about Kelvin because we just did a podcast about how you don't trust the cloud or whatever. And I was like, that bitch is onto something. Yeah. So anyway, that was that. That was not that big of a thing to me. It was at first because I thought I thought it might be bigger and like everyone would suddenly be affected. But then when I realized like my phone was working like normal, my email seemed to be working as normal. I wasn't going anywhere. I was like, I'll figure it out.
Right.
And they did.
Except for Delta, who is still struggling.
They called in the Department of Transportation. That was my update from earlier this morning.
So
they said, wait, no, I don't know. Oh, no, that's the one. The Transportation Department opens an investigation of Delta as travel disruptions enter a 5th day following a global tech outage. So Delta not getting it back together.
So we pulled back into Fort Lauderdale on Sunday, and I was able to hop on my American Airlines flight. I think we were delayed by like 3 minutes because the flight was late getting in, but they made up time. We got back on time, and it was fantastic. So one of my best friends, John, his sister Alicia, who lives in Savannah, their flight to Atlanta was delayed by a few hours. She got to Atlanta on Sunday, and her flight kept getting delayed.
Atlanta's the worst.
Canceled. Yeah. So then Sunday morning, she ended up around midnight they have another brother that lives in Atlanta, went to his house, and then they canceled 2 more of her flights. So her husband had to drive from Savannah to come pick her up from Atlanta.
That's probably the best thing though, because I think people are still stuck in the Atlanta airport.
I mean, it is
right now
wild, the stories you see on TikTok of people being stuck for like 4 days there.
Yeah. Now I was at like a resort hotel, and I mean, lucky for me, we drove there, right? But like starting on whatever day that happened, Thursday or Friday, I don't remember. Starting on Friday, people usually leave on a Friday, and there's people coming in, and there was a lot of hubbub in like the main areas because there's all these people with bags that had gotten turned away at the airport and that were now having to stay longer. And there was one couple who was getting back into the elevator, and they're like, well, I guess we're here till Sunday now. I'm like, sorry, but also that's cool, I guess.
But like, what if you don't have the money to like
stay anywhere?
Pay for that. That's what I always get concerned in those situations of
credit card debt.
But what if because when I think about I remember when I went to the Bahamas in college, I went with like $200.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I didn't
been like,
ask.
Well, I guess I'm just gonna sleep. In the lobby.
We're just gonna hang out. I don't know. I'm assuming they paid for it, but I don't know what would happen if you didn't.
That's what always stresses me out about those sort of stranded situations, because if you don't have the money to pay the extra nights, do they comp you, or do they say, hey, well, you have to pay us back at some point? I don't know how that works. So then let's get to Sunday when we get back. I went to Dave's Hot Chicken when we got here because I wanted some of their bites. And as I'm waiting for my food to come, my friend Leighton sends me a Twitter link. Now, let me tell you why it took me 2 minutes to click on it. Because earlier on Sunday, when I was at the airport in Fort Lauderdale, a friend had sent me a picture or a link to a website from like the San Francisco Chronicle or something. And it was said, I don't remember what the headline was, but it was something about Biden and COVID or something. And I was like, uh-oh, what happened?
Well,
So
he had COVID. He has
Yeah.
COVID.
But it was like something else. It was like an update.
Okay.
I click on it and it takes you to black man with his junk out. And I was like, can you fucking not?
Y'all.
I'm literally
Really dumb.
sitting in line. I was in line in security, clicking on it. I don't know who the fuck is behind me. And then there's a big dong on my phone.
Can you send it to me?
Yeah. I was like, oh, I almost dropped my phone because then I was like, now people think I'm just looking at porn in line.
Well, you were.
And I'm like,
You were.
I mean, you were.
so
I'm
anyway,
sure you've done it before.
no, I have not. Never. Why would you look at porn in public? No.
Oh, no.
So anyway, then I'm at Dave's Hot Chicken waiting for my bites. And my friend Leighton sends me another link to Twitter and it says Biden. I'm like, nope.
You're like, I will not.
Fool me once,
No.
bitch. I already been fooled this morning. Not gonna be fooled again. And so then I was like, is this real? Do not fuck with me. And he was like, no, real. Like, click on it. And then I clicked on it. And then that's the letter that Biden had posted to his Twitter account.
I wish you
Yeah.
said it's another play. I wish.
I was like, can we not on days,
Shit.
on a week like last week,
Yeah.
don't send links like that because like,
That's a sneaky link right there.
Oh,
but
God.
I was like,
Yeah.
and then you could see other people in Dave's Hot Chicken go, as they were like getting the link, and it's like, oh my gosh. So where were you all when you heard the news?
You told me the news.
Ah, okay.
Because I was leaving the hotel and we had taken separate cars. So my fiance was in his car. I'm in my car with Maya in the backseat. I'm in like a parking garage. We had literally just finished loading up all of our luggage after staying there for several days. And I'm just trying, I'm like, I just want to get home right now. I'm ready for my own bed. I'm ready to just wrap up and get back. And so then you texted and I looked down and my foot even was, I had the car in drive and like I saw you texted. And so that I put the brake on and I was like, click. And I was like, what? I put the car in park. I was like, oh my God. Am I in the backseat? It's like, what? What's going on? And I'm like, no. Oh God. Oh my God. I don't know. Oh my God. Ah! I'm like panic. I'm panicked. And she's like, Mom, what's happening? And I'm like, I am not being a good parent right now. So I was like, nothing. It's fine. It's fine. Joe Biden is stepping down. And she was like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know, but he's going to be the president still. We're just not. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do all this to you. Hold on a minute. I got to get my thoughts together. And so, then we're continuing our text conversation. And then in that same span of time, is that when he endorsed Kamala Harris?
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes later.
20 minutes later. I may have been home by then. I don't know. I was just, it was so much uncertainty that I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm nervous. And maybe it was in the same text conversation. Maybe I wasn't home yet because then I think you announced that he was, or you had sent more information about Kamala Harris. And then like, I was still in panic mode because this was so shocking. I was not prepared. I was so shocked. And so then I'm trying to talk it out and talk myself down off of a ledge and also not freak out my 10-year-old who doesn't need to know about any of this. And
Right.
I made the mistake of making it a thing in front of her. And I was just pissed at myself. And so then I got home a little bit after my fiance did. And so I walk in and I'm like, did you hear the news? And he's like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, Biden's dropping out. They're pushing Kamala Harris. And he was like, what? And I'm like, I know. And he's like, did they ever think about Michelle Obama? And I'm like, that's a good point. I don't know. You know what? That doesn't matter right now because I don't know what's happening. And so it was a flurry of like, I didn't know how to feel. I felt all the emotions.
Kelvin?
I was in a rooftop pool in Miami Beach. I was in the middle of the pool. I didn't have my phone near me. I was detaching. And of course, my friend who was in there with her phone in the pool as we're relaxing. And she goes, oh my God, Biden dropped out. And I was like, let me see your sources. I was like, I don't know.
But that's good always that we were always like, well,
Yes.
let me get some facts.
And it was from Only in Dade. Now, if you don't know this, that's one of those like char.lit Instagram page where they post like the crazy stuff that goes on in the city. Same thing with Only in Dade, except Only in Dade is massive now. Like they post all the crazy things that happened. So they had posted that on their thing. And I was like, let's Google it. Google it right now because I'm not going to trust Only in Dade. Not that they're not trustworthy, but they're not a news source.
Right.
So I go, we Google, and yes, he had dropped out. And I was with my other friends who we were already discussing about like, oh no, he's not going to drop out. That would be terrible for this whole election.
I went on a whole rant about how it would be
we really were. And that's honestly, even before he had dropped out, I was talking about it with my other friends that I was staying with, how like, it's not going to be the best idea if he does. We're going to look so weak. I don't know how I feel about this. And then the Kamala Harris thing happened, and I was like, I don't know. America didn't even want to hire the most qualified woman to become president. Like, how are they going to do it for Kamala?
Well, one of my big things was like, I know that sexism and racism runs rampant in the air that we breathe in this country. And I was like, I started panicking because I was like, what is happening? Like I immediately I immediately felt the fear of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What did we just do? But then, as time progressed, my feelings have changed.
It took about,
it took a minute though.
It took till later that night because it happened in the same day, which is weird. I felt like there was like just a marching band of different emotions going through from about 1 o'clock that day until about 9 p.m. that night.
I think for me, it was, so they announced at 1:46. And then by the time because I was at Dave's Hot Chicken, by the time I got home, it was like 2:15. And then I turned on CNN and I was just watching them sort of roll through it. And then around 2:45 is when I got back on Instagram and TikTok. And I started to see immediately people because the internet works fucking fast. Yeah. And people were already like praising this and saying, oh my gosh, I'm excited. And then I was like, okay, well, this is some positivity. This is good. We haven't seen this in a long time. And then by that night, when all the memes with her and the coconut tree and the brat with Charlie XCX and just seeing all of this. And then to me, this is when I was like, okay, I'm excited now. When, there was a funny clip that I wish I had prepared of CNN trying to explain what the brat summer and the whole green Charlie XCX. There's a funny, and I happen to see it live, where they're like, well, according to this, my daughter texted me about Charlie XCX and a brat summer.
It's a brat summer, bitch. I can't.
I need to find the audio. It was hilarious watching them trying to explain it. But that night on Fire Island, this is a big gay community outside of New York on an island where it's a big thing where every summer they go and the gays just frolic on this island on Fire Island.
Oh,
that night they had that lime green t-shirt with Kamala on it. That night.
Oh,
and it was already going viral on TikTok. And I was
holy
like,
shit.
Okay, the fact that the gays are getting on this trend and they already have t-shirts printed, I think this is a good sign if you are on the liberal side of things, that people are actually excited and not like, well, I guess I'll help save democracy. Let me go vote, girl. But they're actually excited and it's inspiring hope.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if it's as safe to say, but I almost feel like people like Kamala more than they did Hillary.
Yes, absolutely. Which I will always back up and defend Hillary. I love Hillary. She's just not a charismatic. Well, at that time.
At the time.
Now that she's relaxed and she's just enjoying life as a public servant or as a normal person.
On Twitter.
Yeah, she's hilarious, but she's a policy wonk. She's not exciting. She's not a person that you want to go to brunch with. Whereas Kamala has that wonderful thing where she can sit and read a law because she was a prosecutor and understand it and debate you, but then she can also go dance and be an AKA and go with her girls and have brunch, and she can do both. Hillary Clinton is just not that person.
And there was a lot too, because this is a surprise attack, and there's not a lot to really criticize Harris on yet. Now, Hillary Clinton, we knew coming up, and they had so long.
Whole life story.
Yes, it was a lot. And she did bring with her a lot of past stuff that everyone knew about. Like it was all very public information. So the circumstances are very different. But speaking of all this, I think this might be a good time for me to shoehorn in my little thing about what we call Kamala Harris. Because I love her name, Kamala. But y'all, we got to call her Harris. We have to.
Right. That's the respectful thing.
It's the respectful thing to do because we don't, when we talk, I mean, think about any time you talk about politics, if you were talking about Trump versus Biden, if you were talking about Clinton, if you were talking about Kennedy, whoever we're talking about, you use their last name, unless you were talking about Hillary or Kamala.
Or Nikki. Haley.
Or Nikki. Or Nikki Haley at the very least. But like that's what we do because it's very informal. We're just some girls. It's our girl Kamala. No, it's not. This could be another president. So we have to either say Vice President Harris and I read that somewhere and I was like, oh God, words do matter because
100%.
I was excited because like I said, I love and it's so catchy. It's, Kamala, Mamala. You can have a lot of fun with it. But we didn't do that with Barack. We did not, toss around Barack all over the place. Like we're best buds with him. We call him Obama. We don't call him Donald. We're not over here having, maybe we do if we're talking Donald and Joe, but we know we're being a little facetious when we do that because we shouldn't use just their first names. And I'm not saying like, oh, shame on you if you have been doing this because I was doing it until I saw something about this. But I think it's super important. And maybe like, in private, you have your whatevers, but like in a public platform or anytime you're posting on social media, try to remember that we're going to be addressing her as Vice President Harris or simply Harris
or presidential
whatever,
nominee
Harris, something, and show the same level of equality and respect as you would for a male candidate in that position.
I think that's
I'm
really
off my soapbox.
That's
now.
really important to point out because I never even thought about that. We really always called Hillary.
Always.
Always
And then
called
some
Kamala
people were
Kamala.
like, oh, well, it's because we didn't want to confuse her with her husband. There was no confusing the husband at this point.
Because he was done with politics.
Bill was done. We knew we weren't talking about Bill, even though we called him Clinton, but we called her Hillary. But her team ran with it. And so I don't know. I mean, maybe they didn't have someone thinking about what the optics of that were, but the optics of it is that we can be super familiar and take her down a notch and be informal with her if we use her first name when we're talking about her in a political arena, but we shouldn't.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kelvin.
No, go ahead. I've been yapping.
No, go ahead.
No.
Well, I was gonna say I do agree with you. It is a form of respect, and we definitely should. But I also think from a marketing side, I think Hillary was much more popular than calling her Clinton. And I also think for Kamala too, I'd rather call her Kamala than Harris because we all her signs, all her when she was running in 2020 was Kamala for president, Kamala for this. I feel like her team's running on Kamala rather than Harris.
I know. I don't know if it's the smartest move.
Well, I think it just depends on the context of the situation. I think if you are in the media, you should refer to her as Vice President Harris. I think that when it comes to a woman, there's certain different optics than that they're looking at. So I think for Hillary, they were looking at people saw her as a shrewd, as all of these horrible things, and I'm assuming that they thought, well, if
maybe they thought they'd soften it a little bit.
It'll warm her up by calling her Hillary instead of saying Secretary Clinton. Even though that's super formal, and she absolutely deserves those accolades because she did it, or Senator Hillary or First Lady Hillary Clinton. And so I think that there are probably some optics there personally that's why they made that choice. But I do think on a professional platform like ours, or if we're on the show and we're talking about her coming to town, it should always be Vice President Harris is coming here on a campaign stop.
Right.
Because,
so just and I'm not saying this as like, I don't want it to sound like I'm giving a lecture. Like, it's for me too.
Right.
Because
when
I
learning.
saw it, I was like, okay,
That's a
I need
professional
to
thing.
make sure that when I'm like doing my trending segments, and if we should bring it up, and that's how I'm going to be doing it, or if I'm, putting a post online or whatever, just as a heads up, because I learned something and I want to pass it along. And I think it's an important and smart thing for us to do.
Yeah. But I also, too, on that, with a little asterisk on that, something that you're going to start to see and what they've already started to do is on the Donald Trump side of things, they on purpose mess up her name. And so they're doing this whole thing where you'll start to see it more and more as they're trying to get on one message about how to attack her, is you see them on stage going, that girl, Kamala, what's her name? They've already started to do it. They know what the fuck her name is.
Yeah, it's been 4 years.
Like, stop. You know what her name is.
That's on purpose.
Absolutely. It's a dog whistle to be like, she's not like us. She's not from here. She's got a strange foreign name, and they're already starting it. She's not she's not actually legally to be able to be president. They're already starting with that. They're already fucking starting with it. So just
not
keep
the
that in mind.
birthers thing. Not that. Wait, that's what another good reason to call her Harris.
All right. We're gonna end things today, and then we'll come back on Friday for the podcast and talk more about like the other things that happened during our vacations. But I did want to end it today with the clip of CNN trying to understand what Charlie XCX's Brat Summer is. Listen.
Which is a natural question.
Natural question for you.
I am here today just for this question.
Well,
yes,
our biggest brat.
Yeah.
So, I, for the record, I was tipped off about this, what I'm about to share with our voters, our viewers rather, by my 16-year-old
who truly
daughter,
is an
who is an
expert.
actual member of Gen Z.
And by the way, this is CNN. That's Jake Tapper, the guy voice. And I don't know a woman that's going to be reading some of the stuff too, but you can hear the interaction between them from CNN.
Kamala Harris appears to be leaning into this. The singer Charlie XCX tweeted last night, Kamala is brat. And this is in reference to her album. It's called Brat. Kamala has branded her Kamala HQ Twitter page with the same aesthetic of the album. That's another Gen Z word, aesthetic. It's even becoming a trend on TikTok. Special Gen Z correspondent Jamie Miguel, what can you tell us about
So first of all, just for my producer Elizabeth Stewart, who will spit out her coffee as I say this, I am supposed to say that's brat. And for those who are not in the know the way I am, that is a cool thing. It has a color. Chartreuse is the color, and Kamala Harris has adopted that for whatever social media page that is.
She printed out.
She printed out. She printed it out. Oh,
so for those of you that are listening, she printed out Vice President Harris's HQ headquarters Twitter header just so she could show on TV. This is what she means by the Brat Summer aesthetic.
That is something else.
It keeps getting better.
But I have brought some notes because I knew you would want a definition. Okay, here we go.
She slides on her readers.
Oh, good.
So she can see.
Yeah.
Charlie XCX, who I do know, quote, brat, you're just that girl who is a little messy and likes to party and maybe says some dumb things sometimes, end quote.
So is the idea that we're all kind of brat and Vice President Harris is brat? I don't know
if you're brat. I think you aspire to be brat.
Right.
You don't just become brat.
Oh, okay.
You have to try.
You can work at it.
I will aspire to be brat. I will aspire. But I mean, the point is that she is, whether it's her or some very clever people who work for her, going right for them in a language of their own that apparently nobody at this table speaks.
To quote another generation.
Except for you, because you think you're
maybe
23.
this is your generation. She's going to
I'm the closest.
You're a millennial. Take it easy.
So you tell me, is this your? She's going to own it.
She's going to own it.
Own it.
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is, at 59, she is the youngest candidate in the race, and also Donald Trump is now the oldest living presidential nominee.
That is true.
In the
We
history
did see
the
some of
United
this
States.
with her first run, the K-Hive, if you will. Like, she did have a huge social media presence 5 years ago when she was running unsuccessfully.
Didn't do much good, though.
It did not do much good for her electoral outcome, but she did have that kind of entree into this world, and I think it's going to be turbocharged now for this.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Stick around. Brats.
Oh no! Please, God. It really is.
I need her to bring up the coconut thing. I need her to talk about it. I want to know what she thinks.
Yes.
That's like anytime we say anything a little untoward, like off mic, off the air, and then we're like, "Hey, be careful," because if in a courtroom someday someone reads, what you said, it sounds like that because that poor lady just made it sound like the uncoolest thing that has ever happened. Oh,
She said, I just love when she puts on her readers and she's like, so according, you're going to have a brat summer. I'm like, oh, baby girl.
Well, it's hard to see someone who has readers at home. It can be hard when you're going from looking far away to looking close up sometimes.
Holly, what's your social media people can find you?
Radio Holly, and that's on all the things. And in case you missed it, we did just get one more breaking news update. President Biden will address the nation at 8 p.m. on Wednesday.
It's past my bedtime. I'm going to watch, though.
Oh, I'm going to watch that. Yes. All right. More breaking news, girl. We're living in our last days, honey.
I know. I'm calling this episode breaking news. That's it.
Coconut brat summer.
Producer Kelvin, how can people see your brat summer?
At Kelvin Live, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram.
You can see my brat summer. I'll be posting more cruise things. We did a really cool, I took a page from Kelvin's book and I had us do this social media trend, but I'm waiting for all of my friends on the cruise ship to send me their original videos, and hopefully it'll be today.
Oh.
I made us all get together because we had like cruise t-shirts that our friend made for us.
Oh.
I'm super excited. So all things cruise you can find on my Instagram at Miguel Fuller. Bye.
Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Catch it